Guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, we're continuing on Lady C's book. That's right, we got Meghan and Harry, the real story. I always want to say it like that. It just sounds more dramatic. The real story. And boy, do I have some fun pictures for you today. I got more of the ones that I just had on my computer. I'm probably on a list somewhere, somebody to watch, but I have all these funny pictures and I'm so glad to be sharing them with you. So enjoy this. All right, so the book picks up, if you're reading along with me, I'm on page 364. Again, we're in chapter 12, the last chapter of the book. I got so many great suggestions on things to read. I promise I'm going to make a decision soon. I do have the Palace Papers that is staring back at me right now on my desk, so I'm kind of thinking I might pick that up. I might do like courtiers where I skip to the juicy parts. We'll see. We'll make a decision together. No big deal. All right. Page 364, if you're reading along with me, all I can see is the Wicked Witch behind me and go, hey, and your little ginger too. All right, so we pick up with the Trouble of R12, which is so funny and so timely, because again, she wrote this book, it came out in 2020, I think, thereabouts, and I just did a video, which should be up by now, and it's about R12, and it's about how it just came out through tax reporting that they work 1 hour a week on R12. So I find this very funny because Lady C goes into, so they're going to be spending a lot of time focusing on R12. I'm thinking they're focusing on the money, not so much R12 itself, but she goes into how the charitable enterprise is neither a charity nor a foundation, but an entity which will assist others when they feel the need. That perfectly sums that up, right? Clear as mud. But it's just funny, again, timing-wise, because, again, with these tax things being, public, they go into how much everybody was paid. I forget what the guy's position is. I need to go back and look it up. But whoever's leading it that's not them was making like over $1,000 an hour, they figured out. But again, only working 1 hour a week on the charity. It's very odd. Okay, so they wanted to find causes to support while also providing them with financial freedom. Although Harry and Meghan have maintained that a fundamental part of their goal will always be humanitarian work. Now, again, I would like to point you to look at their wedding invites. Couldn't be bothered to invite her family, but it was uncovered by Lady C that they invited hundreds of people to make them look more like humanitarians. It was people tied to like charities that they thought would be good to have their names associated with. Nice, huh? Good priorities. Definitely about helping people, not about the optics, right? Please read between the lines there. That's my sarcasm. Because I'll get comments that say, what? No, they're not. They're awful. I'm like, no, I know. That's the joke. No, I'm saying they're awful. Go with me here. Okay, so yeah, it's all about the optics, it seems, of their humanitarian work. The reality is it's all about financial reward. I mean, what else is new? Their altruism, if that had been their sole goal, their main motivation, wouldn't they have wanted to stay with the royal family? Because you have far greater influence under them, and you can get more written about you and spotlight to causes, as we've seen Catherine and William do. But no, that's why obviously we can all see through it and see that it's total BS. They just are worried about their own finances versus what again, it's just the words not matching up with their actions. And listen, if I haven't said it before, it's not that they left. I don't give a shit. If you're not happy, leave, fine. But it's the hypocrisy every step of the way, the blatant lying. That's what keeps me completely enthralled. I've just never seen anything like it. Oh, hey, speaking of hypocrisy, I promise I didn't time this out. This is funny. I just looked up at my screen and look, I didn't know anything about the royals. I didn't Google them. Although here she is holding a magazine with Catherine on its cover. I'm sure she didn't read every single word of it. It's for hypocrisy. Okay, back to the story. Lady C gives an estimation of what she believes they would have been making, or let me just read this to you. What would have happened if they had stayed royals? So they would have gotten an approximate income from the royal coffers of 3 to 4 million per year, another 1 or 2 million per year in expenses, an equal sum for her clothes, aside from top-ups from Prince Charles' Duchy of Cornwall, into another 7 or so figures, not to mention the free housing they would have been given. If you compare all that labor with being flown by private jet from somewhere you're basing yourself, turning up at an agreed venue and speaking for 45 minutes about yourself or some cause dear to your heart, and earning a quarter of your British income in less than an hour, it's obvious what will win if your desire is financial independence, as they have said they do. Here's the thing, though. Again, I go back to the titles. Then why hold on to the titles? Why accuse his family of racism and all the worst-ist words you can think of, and then hold on to the titles? It blows. I mean, obviously we know it's for financial gain. That's what they're all about. But again, it's hidden under layers of hypocrisy. See, they linked their charity and humanitarianism with themselves. So now they're trying to avow financial agents. They will inevitably find themselves being suspected for profiting for their own monetary reward. DC astutely points out that their aim is to end up covered in glory, acknowledged as the world's most benevolent couple, yikes, and they might well achieve their objective, but they will need to be very careful as they go about doing so. The thing the press on both sides of the Atlantic like more than the privileged flourishing is the privileged tripping themselves up. I would say falling on their faces. It has been a joy to watch. Couldn't have happened to two worse people, right? Look at the picture on the screen. Sorry, it caught my eye again. I'm drawing attention to that. This picture really irks me. But I kind of also love it because the Queen clearly saw who and what Meghan was. And Meghan, people are like, oh, she's staring down the Queen. I'm like, no, she's intimidated by the Queen. She's not even making direct eye contact. She's just kind of giving her a smug look. And I'm still laughing about this picture. Okay. So we already heard how Harry and Meg had paired up with JP Morgan, but they're not the only financial institution that they've been dealing with. So it sounds like since 2019, they've been forging links with Goldman Sachs. So Lady C says ostensibly on behalf of charity, but again, with the couple benefit financially. So Lady C says they want to get down to the real business of exploiting each other financially. So Goldman Sachs, I'm not going to go into the whole history, but they in trouble. I don't know much about it, but Lady C eloquently spells it out that basically this is an interesting choice because this company has been criticized during the credit crunch for unethical conduct as it bet against financial products it was also recommending to clients. In the process, it made itself billions and cost its clients a consummate amount. This resulted in them agreeing to pay $5.1 billion to settle accusations of wrongdoing in their RMBS business with the U.S. Justice Department. Whew. Yikes. Sounds like greedy meets greedy. Again, perfect match, right? But the reason she goes into this detail is because it coincided with the same time they decided they needed to shut down their royal office in England. Why did they do this? Well, I'll tell you. It's so they didn't have any watchful eyes. They wanted to be able to do as they please with no criticism or questions whatsoever, no matter how shady the business dealings, right? Sounds like them. So they gathered their Buckingham Palace staff together and gave all 15 members notice at the same time. The members were quoted as saying this came as a bolt out of the blue. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't know. Like, I think it's one of those things that ends up being a blessing because these two sound like nightmares. But Lady C explains that as rough as the couple made it, and it sounds like it was rough and so many people quit, it was something that people had worked years and years working their way up the ranks. So it was just a shitty way that it was handled, that people thought they had job security and didn't. Luckily, it sounds like a lot of the ones that wanted to stay on were snapped up by the Queen and by William and Catherine, and stayed on with the royal family, which I kind of love that too, because imagine going from working from the worst people ever to about Harry and Meghan, and then getting to go work with the Queen or William and Catherine. Like, I think most people would be like, oh my God, I'll put up with these jerks long enough so I can get to the ultimate goal of working with, let's say William, Catherine, the Queen. Just take every ounce of everything you've ever had not to tell Hank and Skank just to fuck off. But this was all to do with Meghan and Harry not wanting to hear that associating with companies like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, etc. just didn't want Buckingham Palace getting wind of such deals, it sounds like. Lady C goes on to explain, quote, Meghans' attitude is, all dollar bills are green. Once they're safely in the bank, it doesn't matter whence they came. Ooh, whence, that's a fun word. All that matters is that they're there. Harry backs her up totally in this as in everything else. Why is he so spineless? Ultimately, Harry and Meghan have one thing to offer that no one else does: his royalty. So there's the answer to the titles thing. Neither of them has a talent beyond putting themselves forward as performers on the world stage. I so want to make a joke about yacht girl talents, but I'm going to leave it be. But being good public speakers is one thing. Another is, what do they have to say? Something we've all said, right? If you've ever listened to clips, it's just word salad. It's painting themselves as victims. It's the same rhetoric, but with nothing. Again, we got to do something with no real plan of action and not much substance there. So basically, they're in reality royals for sale or for hire. It's a tricky position to be in, while having to retain the prestige customarily associated with the non-commercialism of royalty. Then Lady C goes into an interesting history. She says other royals over the decades have tried to convert their prestige into dollar bills. Ultimately, all failed. Whether it's King Michael of Romania, whose grandmother, Queen Marie, had been so popular that she was given a ticker tape parade down Wall Street, or King Peter of Yugoslavia, or the descendants of Russian, German, Austrian, Italian, Greek, Danish, and Spanish monarchs, none of them found it possible in the long run to alchemize the glitter of royalty into serious money. They either married it or learned to do without it. Ooh, I can't imagine these two learning to do without it. For after the initial flurry during which they were offered coinage appropriate to their rank, interest waned. Of course, Meghan has an advantage none of them had. She's American, moreover, who is experienced in working in the entertainment industry. On the other hand, she has so far been more Hope Cook, former Queen of Sikkim, I think you say, than Grace Kelly, late Princess of Monaco. The appeal of royalty, as the Canadians noted so clearly when it appeared that Harry and Meghan hoped to join them permanently, is that it is foreign, non-resident, and inaccessible. But despite this, Harry and Meghan have a game plan they have adhered to. It is well thought out and maximizes their chance of success, though this is far from assured, at least at the level and to the extent to which they aspire. Exactly. So I don't understand their ultimate game plan, and while it sounds like they're making so much money, I feel like they must be hemorrhaging so much money based on, well, the stupid choices we've seen, such as flying private and the awful wardrobe and everything else that they're blowing their money on. Now I'm going to throw out, again, I don't get political, but Lady C brings up what she suspects will happen. There's a rumor going around, apparently, I had not heard this, that Bill Gates might try to run for president in either 2024 or 2028. And if so, she suspects it will only be a matter of time before someone suggests that Meghan is a running mate. Ugh, no. All I can think, though, is this book was put out before their popularity was this all-time low. So there's just no way. I just don't see it. I don't think so. I also hadn't heard this. Lady C bringing the tea, right? Oh, I want to have tea with Lady C. But she is saying, allegedly, that there are whispers that Bill Gates has helped them in some way. And I go back to that video I just posted, if you didn't see it, about the tax filings. And with R12, there were two donors. One gave 10 million and one gave, I believe it was 3 or 4 million. Now, Jay kept saying, oh, it was Oprah and Gail, and maybe it was. But that's interesting. I wonder if Bill Gates somehow had something. I wonder if he was one of the ones that gave. I don't know. Whomever it was, we don't know, but Lady C says certainly some benefactor has been assisting them, even with Prince Charles's private contributions, which Harry and Meghan say, or Harry especially, had said, he cut us off, even though it's been proven that is not the case. So again, you can't believe anything they say. But Harry and Meghan's expenditure as they settled into California life far outweighed their means. Even their security was a problem. They no longer enjoyed the status of internationally protected people and therefore did not qualify for state funding for their security. Indeed, their security bills has been one of the problems, which convinced the Canadians that they would prefer not to have them reside in their country. Harry and Meghan decamped from Canada to California a day or two before the Canadians withdrew their protection. The Americans also refused to assume the burden, which was hardly surprising considering Meghan's withering comments about former president. I don't get political here. I don't want to talk about it. Being dismissive, misogynistic, and a host of even worse remarks delivered both publicly and privately. Now, also during this time, do you remember what happened? Harry thought he was talking to Greta Thunberg, and it was actually Russian pranksters. So he's on record. He was recorded talking about, again, presidents I don't want to talk about, and said that an ex-president had blood on his hands because his climate change policies don't accord with their climate change policies. Again, I'll remind you, private jets. They sure don't mind talking about taking private jets everywhere, but, you know, it's as we found out in the last episode, he was saying he has to for security, even though William, Catherine, the children have been seen tons of time flying commercial. But living the lifestyle that they do, it requires serious income. If you're Harry and Meghan, you'd at least be 20 times too poor to cover even the basics of living the billionaire lifestyle, is what Lady C is talking about. While house hunting for the California mansion that would consume at least half your capital, there'd be the house to rent, costing thousands per diem in excess of your overall income. Then there's the staff to pay and everything else that would set you back a sum you don't have. So it's, again, interesting to point out how, yes, they are making these big deals, but they're also apparently hemorrhaging money. And I giggle uncomfortably because it's just so much money to piss away on stupid things like clothing. It just blows my mind. And yet, while preaching things like climate change while taking private jets and the importance of giving while they're, being greedy for themselves, it's just too much to stomach, right? Too much. Anyway, guys, I'm leaving it here. We just have a little bit more to go of this book, and we will move on to the next book. Like I say, I'm leaning toward the Palace Papers. If you want to grab that, I haven't even cracked it open, so I'll take time. I'll crack it open, and I'll find the juicy parts, and we'll talk about it. If you've read that, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were. Very curious to hear. I'm not interested in pro oh my gosh, pro Harry and Meghan stuff. I'm interested. I want the juicy details. I want more revenge. I keep hoping that book will come out, but I have not heard what's going on with that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If you want to further support the show, I do encourage you to check out my Patreon. I do a lot of extra content over there, deep dives, lots of fun stuff. I even cover episodes of Sex and the City if that's your jam, but a lot of Harry and Meghan stuff. So check that out. It's patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. That's where you can become an executive producer. I'd like to thank my executive producers so much for all the support. So I'm going to read your names, and if you want to become one, check it out on patreon.com. So a huge thank you to Linda. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you to Paige. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you to Mary. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mr. K. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you to Aaron and Frank. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Ann M. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ann H. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Glennis. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dewey. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Adair Becker. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Amber. Thank you to Annette. Thank you, Barb G. Thank you, Diana, LOL. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Allison B. Thank you, Jean. Thank you to Lori. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, KT. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Stromboli. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Loie. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Robin's Landing. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Maura. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you, Molly. I appreciate you all so much for being here, supporting the show. Again, check out patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps if you want to join in the extra fun. We are having a lot of fun over there. It's a great group. So thanks for being here. Make sure that thumbs up is hit, and I will talk to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.